But thank you all for coming. Really appreciate the turnout, the support, the dialogue we're going to have today. This is a very important topic. As an institution, we've developed a strategic plan. Our strategic plan says something pretty simple. It says it's all about student success, the research that we do, and the engagement with the broader world and communities that are part of our lives. So I think we have it down as to what we're trying to get done. We've got gaps and issues and challenges. We're not at all even close to fulfilling those three very important objectives. But I would submit to you that what we need to get done will not make this university great as much of how we get it done. The way in which we work together. The display every day of our values. And as some of you know, and some of you have heard me talk about, so I'll keep it brief, but I passionately believe in teams. I believe in teams because the more people that are involved, the more experiences and skills and filters we have focused on the issues that we're trying to deal with. And in that world, the issue of diversity, inclusion, and collaboration is critically important. And the more diverse you are, the more successful you're going to be. Additionally, it's the right thing to do. There is a lot of stuff. I'll just use stuff. It seems like we're talking about S words all over the place in the last few days out of Washington. We have a lot of stuff going on. And I would just ask us as a community to not let that get in the way. We're part of that world. We should care about it. I care intently about it. But we shouldn't lose our path. We shouldn't lose our vision of who we are and what we want this place to be. That stuff doesn't need to define us. We can do better. We are better. We will be better. So what we're going to do for the next few minutes is take a tour through where we are. And we're going to celebrate some things and some important and really good things that we've gotten done. And we ought to pat ourselves on the back. At the same time, we're going to see some gaps and challenges. And I think that's the mark of a really, really healthy organization, which is it just doesn't say, oh, look how great we are. It celebrates that, but it also says, look how great we can be still. And that's what we have before us. And I think Lena Hill is going to guide us through that journey for a little while. One of the great things about Lena is that she has not only a lot of passion for this, but also brings to it a sense of style and grace. And I can just say in my interactions with her, she's made it easy for us to have the right conversations and important conversations about some very difficult issues. So she brings something in addition to just her energy. She brings a sense of style and brings a sense of us as a community. She got thrown into this last year in the midst of a change, and I know she would not agree with this because she would say that she's still learning every day and it's been an uphill climb. But from my perspective, she stepped into it, didn't miss a beat. And so let's celebrate, if you will, Lena and her leadership. And then finally, let's poke at ourselves and say, how do we take ourselves to the next level? And it is the right thing to do, but it's also critically important for what we need to get done. We will never be the largest. We will never have all the resources we need to get things done, but we can be smarter. We can be clever. And part of that is actually all leveraging each other's capabilities. And so for the next few moments, we're going to celebrate, spend some time talking about diversity, inclusion, collaboration, in a sense, who we are and what we want to be. Thank you. Lena, I'll turn to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, President Harold, for those kind words and also for your leadership in making us a more equitable, a more diverse, and more inclusive community. And thank all of you for coming out in this very busy, very cold first week of the semester. As I was walking down the hill, I thought, though, that this cold really makes me feel like an Iowan, like a Midwesterner, because when the temperature eases into the teens and the low 20s and you think it feels great, then you know you are either from the Midwest or you have fully adapted. Oddly enough, it also makes me think of part of the diversity and the ethnic richness of our state's history that we don't always talk about. I often teach an autobiography by Arabelle Thompson that is titled American Daughter. It was published in 1946. And this Black woman goes into rich detail about how cold it was growing up in Iowa and North Dakota at the turn of the century. So I tell my students, as uncomfortable as we are not at all dealing with those kinds of conditions. Thinking about Arabelle Thompson also reminds me that Iowa has not been the sort of cold outpost that many folks on the coast think we are. Thompson went on, after growing up in Iowa, to become the longtime editor of Ebony magazine, along with Herb Nipson, an African-American man who received his degree from the Writers' Workshop in 1948. Together, they served at the helm of Ebony for over 40 years. Who would have thought that two African-Americans with Iowa ties would become the tastemakers for cosmopolitan African-Americans across this country? I don't think I would have thought that. And that makes me feel good. I grew up in the Black church, so whenever I hear a baby, I feel right at home. Thinking about this history of prominent African Americans who called Iowa their home or at least passed through Iowa puts my annual update on diversity, equity, and inclusion into what I think is a very important historical context. We really do have a trailblazing legacy. And as I've looked forward to sharing some of the things that we've been working on with you, it has been with a real sense of anticipation. So there are a couple of things I want to cover today. One, I want to offer a sort of snapshot with data of where we are. I'd also like to think about progress, the progress we've made through some very concrete examples. And I also want to address our challenges. My sense of anticipation in sharing this with you arises from a fundamental belief that our continued strength as a university depends on our ability to understand intimately our institutional identity, to be inspired by our achievements, and most importantly, to find collective motivation in exposing and tackling our dilemmas. This is no easy task, as President Harold mentioned. To succeed, we must both understand and agree upon the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion to the University of Iowa mission. And so I thought I'd begin with a few definitions. I am an English professor by training, so I always want to make sure that we understand the terms that are guiding our discussion. And I'm going to focus a lot on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I want to make sure we're on the same page. So when we refer to diversity in higher education, we're describing the sum of the ways people are both alike and different, including race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, class and socioeconomic status, religion, mental and physical ability, veteran status, national origin, and immigration status, and political perspective. At the UI, we are committed to increasing diversity because we really do believe that the many points of view that diverse people bring to the educational enterprise enhances our learning and achievement. Equity relates to achieving equal access and advancement. It's not the same thing as equality. The two are not synonymous, nor are they interchangeable. Equity reaches beyond equal opportunity for everyone. Pursuing equity actually sometimes requires that we commit greater resources to those who may require greater support to achieve equal outcomes. We might say equity is the process and equality is the outcome. And finally, inclusion. It's the intentional, ongoing engagement with diversity in ways that increase one's awareness and understanding of how individuals interact within value systems and institutions. An inclusive campus is a place where differences are welcomed and respected to ensure that every member of the community can thrive. So many of you are likely here because you already believe deeply in these three words, and not just as words, but for what they mean. Indeed, one of the most exciting aspects of stepping into this position, and it was actually just in August, you gave me a whole year, but it was just in August, and one of the things I have so enjoyed is having the opportunity to work with committed and passionate faculty, staff, and students across this institution. It's been a pleasure. And so we put together this map. I thought, I want to put this on a map, my excitement of working together with everyone. And this really shows how CDO serves as a dynamic hub for the DEI work, and that's how I refer to diversity, equity, and inclusion, because it's a mouthful. How we serve, as you see, our office doesn't work alone, nor are we hierarchical in performing this work across our institution. Instead, we enjoy a kind of hub and spoke functional configuration that allows the three central units that comprise the Chief Diversity Office to collaborate with units in every part of this campus. And I want to ask my directors, the directors of different units, to stand so that if you want to work with these directors, you'll know whose face matches each name. So for the Center for Diversity and Enrichment, we have Dr. Nadine Petty. Thank you. For the Diversity Resources team, Brianna Marcello is in the back. And for the Office of Equal Opportunity and Diversity, Jennifer Modestu. So in addition to these three offices, we have partners in traditional offices across the campus, colleges, departments, numerous committees that they serve on. And this really is, I think, an accurate demonstration of how we really do seek to work with folks all across the institution. We're really fortunate at the UI to have a vibrant organization filled with exceptional people working to propel our institution forward. And as this map demonstrates, the excellence that diversity works to sustain is not separate from or ancillary to our core mission of teaching, research, and service. Creating an environment of respect and inclusion supports work unfolding in classrooms and laboratories, studios and libraries, resident halls and athletic facilities, office cubicles, and hospital rooms. In order to continue recruiting the best minds, we must remain focused on cultivating an educational climate that supports all who come to the UI. Our leadership and relevance to the 21st century depends on our success in this realm. So let me say a little bit about our history, because this isn't new. This isn't a new development, diversity at the University of Iowa. Our institutional history reminds us that the contours of the Hawkeye identity emerge from the refining friction wrought by our willingness to discover excellence in all people. Almost from its founding, our institution benefited from the contributions of diverse Hawkeyes. By the 1920s and 30s, the era that really solidified our reputation as a leader in the arts and athletics and other fields, the very threads of student, faculty, and staff diversity formed the wonderful tapestry that is today our unique UI character. For example, many of you probably know about Elizabeth Catlett now that we have that beautiful residence hall. But when she came to the University of Iowa in 1938, Grant Wood didn't want to work with her because she was an African American or because he was a civil rights activist. He wasn't. He wanted to work with her because he saw her profound talent, and he wanted to make sure that our country reaped the benefit of training someone like Catlett. This story is repeated again and again, whether we're thinking of in theater, E.C. Mabey working with Thomas Pauly, or in music, Philip Clapp working with Oscar Anderson, or in the workshop, Paul Engel working with Margaret Walker. The tradition of excellence these leaders cultivated placed diverse students at the heart, not on the edges or on the framework, but at the heart of UI's reputation as a leader in artistic excellence. And I have to say, I love this image. I'll leave it at that. Today, Today, we build on that history, but we do so in a radically different context with a profoundly different conception of higher education. First, much of what we accomplished in the past was by chance. In the 1930s and 1940s, many diverse students came to the University of Iowa because other institutions in our country would not admit them, even gave them scholarships to leave their states and come to a place that was okay with having diversity. The strong word of mouth that lured these gifted students to the Iowa heartland proved sufficient. But many of these students, when they arrived, endured indignities, inequities, and discrimination that were commonplace in a pre-civil rights US. As we continue to confront the grand challenges of our present, we must draw on the wide-ranging perspectives of a heterogeneous group of stakeholders. If we want to prepare our undergraduate students to be people whom employers can confidently view as prepared to thrive in diverse workplaces, and whom graduate and professional programs regard as ready to excel in various programs no matter where they are, then we have to invest systematic measures to support a diverse body of faculty members, students, and staff. If we want to continue attracting the brightest, most talented, and promising Hawkeyes, the leaders and thinkers who will keep us at the forefront of discoveries, we must remain devoted not just to recruiting and admitting diverse students, but to retaining and graduating them. Not just to recruiting and hiring diverse faculty, but to tenuring, promoting, and retaining and supporting their success. Not just to expanding the diversity of our staff, but to encouraging the development of their talent and advancement into leadership. In other words, we must be more intentional and frank, purposeful and forthright in our efforts to create a more inclusive campus. We have much work to do. Our work to increase our equity, diversity, and inclusion lies at the heart of our strategic plan, as President Harrell mentioned, and it's essential that we name the motivation for our work. Simply put, at the University of Iowa, we achieve excellence through diversity, and I invite you all to pick up a pen that says that. Celebrating this truth gives voice to our core values and provides a firm foundation for our efforts. For the next 3 years, following the same timeline as our strategic plan, excellence through diversity will be the banner that reinforces our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. But as we thought about this, we decided there's no need to have a banner if you don't have substance to go beneath it. To spotlight the areas that deserve attention, I want to then briefly just pause and think a bit through some data. Now, numbers never tell the full story of an institution or of who we are, but they do give us a sense of areas that we need to work on. You'll also note that while the numbers I share will really embrace the fullness of our diversity, I will focus on underrepresented minorities. And one reason that we will do that is because that is what our strategic plan does when we look at these critical tasks focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And at the University of Iowa, we define underrepresented minorities as American Indians and Alaskan Natives, Blacks or African Americans, Hispanics or Latina and Latinos, 2 or more races, and Native Hawaiians or Pacific Islanders. So first, let's start with our undergraduate enrollment. These numbers all come from 2017 and give us a sense of where we were this fall. So out of our total student population for undergraduates, 14%, or 3,386 out of 24,476 of our undergraduate students are underrepresented minorities. If we break these numbers down by college, as you can see, Tippie has 8.7%, College of Education 12.1%, the College of Engineering 11.5%, Liberal Arts and Sciences 15.7%, Carver College of Medicine, 11.2%, the College of Nursing, 6.4%, brand new undergraduate program in the College of Public Health, 27.2%, and University College, 10.8%. So these are our numbers today. If we look at our diversity in terms of gender, 47% of our undergraduate students are male, 52.8% female, and 0.2% intersex or prefer not to answer. Now our veteran status. We have a vibrant and growing group of military-affiliated and veteran students. This fall, 1,596 self-reported veterans enrolled, and 575 are receiving benefits. Our number of students with disabilities has also gone up. We have 1,104 self-reported students with disabilities and 123 staff and faculty. Now turning to our graduate students. We are not alone in focusing on improving before our graduation rates. And this I should pause because this is a big deal. This is something that schools across the nation are thinking about for a couple of reasons. One, we want all of our students to graduate at higher rates. We want you to not just come, but to succeed and to leave with a degree. Here at the University of Iowa, we have started to focus on 4-year graduation rates rather than 6 years because we understand that if we can help you to matriculate through in 4 years, you're less likely to accrue debt and more likely to make it on out and to begin living the rest of your lives. One thing we want to be attentive to, though, is that as we improve our graduation rates for our overall student population, we also see an improvement in our underrepresented student graduation rates. Many organizations are charting the disparity between our overall graduation rate and the graduation rate for our students of color. At the University of Iowa, what we can celebrate is that as our overall graduation rates have increased, so have those rates for our underrepresented students. The problem is that a disparity continues, and that gives us something to work on. So as you see, you saw it. It's fine. We can turn to our graduate students in professional schools. And this is another really important piece of data because when we talk about diversifying the professoriate, where do professors come from? They come from folks who go on to get advanced degrees and professional degrees. So when we look at our graduate and professional enrollment, overall, our underrepresented minority graduate students and professional students comprise 11.1% of that student population. In the College of Dentistry, 5.7%, the Graduate College, 9.8%, College of Law, 18%, Carver College of Medicine, 14.1%, and in the College of Pharmacy, 9.8%. Now we're going to turn to our faculty numbers, and these numbers are actually more challenging than any of our student numbers. Again, if we want to grow our student numbers, we have to have faculty who they will see as mentors, who they will see as representing the commitment of our institution to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right now, our underrepresented minority tenure track and tenured professors comprise 7.4% of our overall faculty. When you look at the real numbers behind those percentages, it is striking. That 7.4% is made up of 3 American Indian or Alaskan Native faculty members, 30 Black or African American ones, 60 Hispanic or Latino, Latina faculty members, and 9 2 or more races. So we have, again, lots of work to do. The same is true for our underrepresented minority faculty when we look at non-tenure track faculty. Right now we have 6.5%, and you can see again those small numbers: 4 American Indian or Alaskan Native, 18 Black or African American, 43 Hispanic or Latinx, 5 2 or more races. Our staff also gives us space to grow. 4.9% of our full-time professional and scientific staff come from underrepresented minority backgrounds. When we look at our merit staff, it is a similar situation, a little higher. 11.3% of our full-time staff that are merit staff are coming from underrepresented minority groups. So these numbers are not just numbers for us to look upon and either shake our heads or not know what to do about. These numbers should energize us. They energize me to work harder, more collaboratively, more intentionally, more purposefully. Those of us who've had the privilege of teaching in diverse classrooms in this university understand what an amazing difference it makes when you have a wonderful, vibrant learning community. In my 12 years here teaching in African American Studies and the English department, I've had that privilege, and it has been amazing. As a result of my diverse classrooms, my students have learned from their severely disabled peers that we don't need to focus on their disability, but on the brilliance of their ideas. We've benefited from the unique perspective of military-affiliated students, rural classmates, and those from cities. I've welcomed students in the midst of transitioning, those who passionately articulate radically different and divergent political ideals, and those who bring unique perspectives from other countries. Underrepresented minority students and students with varying religious backgrounds have contributed distinct insights that enliven our intellectual work. Yet I sometimes worry that my experience is not representative of other classrooms on our campus. And that means that many of our students aren't having the opportunity to interact with peers that are unlike them. With this in mind, understanding why it's important for us to increase our diversity, to make sure that we're creating a more equitable environment, and to make sure that we're as inclusive as possible, I want to dedicate the rest of my time to really focusing on the priorities that will guide both the Chief Diversity Office, but also other leaders on this campus in terms of how we'll address these challenges. This is a particularly opportune moment because as we do this deep dive, we're preparing to search for another Chief Diversity Officer. That person will come in understanding where we are, who we are, and what we need to work on. So let's talk about our priorities. First, we'd love to work on improving our climate. We also are going to increase the retention and graduation rates of our historically marginalized students, and we are focused on strengthening the recruitment and retention of underrepresented faculty. And finally, we want to enhance the clear communication on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is one of our star professors on this campus. This past September, these priorities didn't come out of a vacuum. They are both in our strategic plan, but also came out of a wonderful conversation we had in September. We held our first diversity, equity, and inclusion forum that brought together leaders from across campus, vice presidents, deans, members of the cabinet, of the president's cabinet, the provost's office, and other leaders who work on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we got together and really talked about what was going well, what are the things that certain colleges are putting in place that they're having success with, and what do we want to do differently. And out of that conversation, I heard, and others I think around that room heard, that leaders really wanted two things in particular. They wanted to know more about how we as a community felt about climate issues on our campus. And they also wanted a clearer plan for how we were going to address many of the challenges, a roadmap. So as a result, we started to do some work in thinking about surveys. And I was particularly, and I'm looking for Sarah Brooke and Angie Lamb. Are y'all here? They've been working, oh, there's Angie. And Sarah, y'all stand up. I want to recognize, these are our co-chairs of the Charter Committee on Diversity. They are the co-chairs of our Charter Committee on Diversity, and this is a committee that's comprised of all stakeholders, faculty, staff, and students. And they agreed to take on what I just realized was a really big task of putting together a few surveys and doing a deep dive in some surveys that had already been done so that we could understand better how we as a community feel about some of these issues. So the first thing that they worked on, and Sarah Brooke really led this with the assistance of the UI Public Policy Center and the Office of Assessment. We have produced a report, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Among Undergraduate Students at the University of Iowa from 2013 to 2016. That is a mouthful. This report describes selected findings from our SARU survey, and this is the Student Experience and Research University Survey that is administered, it was administered 2013, 2014, and 2016. Now, the survey documents undergraduate students' experiences writ large, but what Sarah and her team did was to create a sort of deep dive into the areas that really focus on climate. And there were sort of 6 areas that we focused on. 1, student perceptions of being respected, feeling valued, and belonging. Secondly, the overall campus climate. Third, the value of diversity. Fourth, the experiences with hearing negative or stereotypical comments. Fifthly, engaging with diversity. And finally, students' academic and personal understandings of diversity. So just to give you some context, many of the students here probably know this because you've taken this survey, but it's offered to all students who are over 18 years of age. And usually we have about a quarter of the students who respond, so it's a pretty good response rate. And the students that respond actually represent a good cross-section of our students that maps very nicely to our campus demographics. So I'm not going to go into detail to talk about these findings. We're preparing the final report. And once we get that report done, we look forward to engaging campus broadly to deal with some of these findings because many of them inspire us and tell us that we, again, have much that we can work on. But I do want to touch upon some of the significant findings so that we can begin to think about the work ahead. So first, I'm going to focus on the significant differences across groups in terms of the percentage of students agreeing that they belong at this university. In 2013 and 2016, we had a lower percentage of underrepresented racial minority students agreeing that they belonged in this institution compared to white students. So you see that for our URMs, we went from 83% to 77%, whereas for our white students, we were at 90% in 2013, and in 2016, 88%. When we think about sexual identity, again, we had a lower percentage of LGBTQ students agree that they belong at this institution compared to heterosexual students. 81% going down to 79%, compared to 90% of heterosexual students in 2013 and 88% in 2016. Now, I should pause and say that overall, 81% feeling that they belong isn't terrible, but when we look at the disparity, it does give us reason to be concerned and to figure out what we can do to address this. We also had a substantially lower percentage of students who disclosed that they had a disability agree that they belong at this institution. Similarly, a substantially lower percentage of underrepresented students agree that students belonging to their own race or ethnic group are respected on campus. So you can see here, 74% answered this in terms of underrepresented minority students that they felt respected in 2013. That number dropped to 58% in 2016. And this is in a stark comparison to our white students. When we compare our Asian students, we also see quite a precipitous drop that we want to pay attention to. In 2013, 14, and 16, a substantially lower percentage of immigrant students agree that students belonging to their race and ethnicity are respected on campus. Now, in 2016, we can imagine this was a political season why this would be the case, but again, something we really want to pay attention to. And finally, considering our students' perception of the importance of diversity to this institution gives us a sense of the work we have to do to educate and increase our communication efforts and the work in showing students that we are invested in this. So as you see here, our underrepresented students as well as our Asian students went down again pretty precipitously. So all of this, again, not sharing it for us to be depressed, but for us to take action. President Harold has said again and again that data can be our friend if we use it to inspire us and to move us towards making positive change. As we think about the disparities between these different student subgroups and how they feel about their position on our campus and their experience here, we are committed to changing it, to not shying away from these issues. We did this work. We dug into these numbers because we wanted to know where we need to place our energies. And that makes me feel good to know that I'm at an institution that wants to do this work. More work. For the first time ever, we're going to open a survey of faculty and staff reviews and feelings about diversity, equity, and inclusion at the University of Iowa. This survey is actually going to open tomorrow, and I encourage all of you in the audience, if you are able to take advantage and participate in this survey. It was developed again by the Charter Committee on Diversity, the Chief Diversity Office, and the Provost Office. Diane Finnerty is not here, but I have to thank her for her exceptional and committed work to helping us produce this survey. Specifically, this survey will help us gain a thorough understanding of campus climate from multiple stakeholder groups, establish a baseline for understanding present climate and measuring change over time, and inform our work on both current strategic plan initiatives and objectives, as well as shape our thinking about future planning. It will also ensure that all people of all social identities can achieve excellence. And if you participate, you might win one of the $150 gift cards. That was my commercial voice. So this is part of the work that we're doing, but there's more. I want to run through the next steps. From now, January to fall 2018, we have a lot to do. So I need all of you to look really excited and let me know that you're going to participate. So we have the survey for staff and faculty that's opening tomorrow and will run until February 28th. Then this spring, we will have our first graduate student experience of Research University survey that's been developed by this SERU survey. Again, this survey isn't only on diversity and equity and inclusion, but it has those questions as a part of it. So the Graduate College will be rolling that out this spring. In March, we'll have our second Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Forum. Many of you may have already been invited. And we also want to make sure we don't just talk about these issues with those in leadership positions. In April, we're going to have a series of faculty and staff diversity, equity, and inclusion stakeholder listening and strategy sessions. And this is where you can go to sign up. And this is because we don't want to just take give a survey and then get a whole bunch of information. We want to be able to put that information and those findings into greater context, to hear from you, to give us a better sense of how we should interpret some of those findings. And so we're really looking forward to these stakeholder listening and strategy sessions. All of this will work together to help us put together our first diversity, equity, and inclusion action plan next fall. So a lot to do and a lot to look forward to. So all of this falls under just the first priority. And you're probably worried. You're probably like me in church now thinking, this is going to be long, but it's not. I'm going to move quickly from here on out. So our second priority is increase retention and graduation rates of historically marginalized students. So in many ways, creating a strong and welcoming and respectful campus climate forms the foundation of all of our other efforts to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion at the UI. So this work, however, of course, it's meaningless if we don't use it to unite our efforts in concrete measures to address challenges such as those I've outlined. Using our strategic guide as a plan, this will be one of our major priorities. And I'd just like to pause and just tell you some of the good things that we've done around this already. Many of you may have already heard that the Graduate College announced a new fellowship program for underrepresented minority graduate students. The Lulu Merle Johnson Fellowships will strengthen our ability to recruit and support talented students of color as they pursue a range of graduate degrees at the University of Iowa, and this is really exciting. I also want to applaud the excellent work our UISG leaders have done. Jacob, I know, is here, Jacob Simpson and Lillian Sanchez Garcia. I don't know if I've seen Lillian, but, oh, there you are. Will y'all stand up? So Jacob and Lillian led an effort that is launching this semester. It's a brand new retention program. In this program, it's open to all students, but the Chief Diversity Office is really excited to contribute to it and to support it because one of the things they've prioritized in setting this program up is to assess how really these issues impact underrepresented students and low-income students. We know that a lot of those students who run into financial difficulties, no matter how brilliant, have a hard time sometimes finishing. So we're also thrilled to see the expanding programming in our cultural resource centers led by Tabitha Wiggins. And if Tab could stand up real quickly. Where is she? Oh, she may have had to leave, but that's okay because she has a really full week this week with all of the MLK programming, so we're still going to sing her praises even without her here. But these spaces offer students a home away from home and so much more. And they really embody a bridge between our past and our present and all of the things that we've done and really been a leader in doing. Our cultural resource centers were here before many institutions even thought of having them. This growth in student life is really exciting and complements what will soon be our new space in the University Capitol Center. So this stunning space, and you're getting your first sneak peek of it, is set to open early next year, and it will be home to both our Center for Diversity and Enrichment and our Diversity Resources team. This additional square footage and central location, and believe me, these units are excited to exit the basement of Phillips Hall and Seashore Hall, right? Seashore, enough said. And they're really most excited, though, not just for a brand new space, but for the way they'll be able to radically transform the work they do in supporting students, faculty, and staff, and all of the work that they do, like our TRIO Upward Bound program, our TRIO Student Support Services, as well as our military and veteran student services. All of these programs will have a new space to do their exceptional work. They'll have expanded tutorial areas, a new lounge space, a lab that will finally house the over 20 computers that our military and veteran students received after just a wonderful fundraiser last spring, but they have not been able to actually unpack all of them. So we're really excited to have all of this space that will radically change the kind of work that we do. We also will have the ability to do more individual academic coaching. And we'll have a large, beautiful training room that will allow our small but mighty diversity resources team to meet the ever-growing request and need for training and build courses. In addition to these advances, I'm excited to share our plans to revamp the structure of our Advantage Iowa program, and we're doing a lot with our AI scholars. We want to structure this so that these students have a cohort, that they take advantage of all of the amazing resources that are here at the University of Iowa. This scholarship that is really for our underrepresented students is there not just to make sure they graduate, these are fantastic students, but that they thrive, that they take advantage of so much that we have to offer. And one thing that we're doing is working more collaboratively with advising. And I think this will be a crucial component to these students' increased success. All of this work that we're doing is partially an acknowledgement that the last few years have been really challenging for university students across this nation, and of course at the University of Iowa. So whether our students have been worrying over the changing immigration policies or watching conversations around sexual identity or watching the news and hearing about people of color being pulled over by police and unduly treated, all of these things we know weigh upon our students, and we want you to know that we are working hard here at the University of Iowa to address your needs, to work, to listen to you, and to make sure that you know that we care. We do hear you. Our third priority, strengthening recruitment and retention of our underrepresented minority faculty. I want to run through some of the wonderful things we're already doing before I announce a major new priority. One thing is that with our ethnic studies units like African American Studies and Latino Studies and American Indian and Native Studies, the Provost Office and the Chief Diversity Office wants to give new support to these programs, understanding that if we can increase the opportunities for underrepresented faculty and other programs in colleges that may have really small numbers where certain faculty may not find many folks who share their identity or may be looking for other ways to engage around their research interests beyond their college, we understand that our ethnic studies units can provide that second home for these faculty and hopefully improve our retention rates. of these faculty. The Chief Diversity Office has also been pleased to reinstitute funding for our diversity councils. These groups that are comprised of faculty and staff and sometimes students do amazing work that's not always recognized on this campus. This is service that they're doing. They are sometimes cooking for our students when they are doing wonderful programming in the cultural houses. They are welcoming faculty and staff who join our community and may need to feel a place that they're comfortable. They do this because they are invested in this institution, so we are thrilled to refund them. We're also really excited by many of the efforts that, under the leadership of our Chief HR Officer and Associate Vice President Cheryl Reardon, that our Human Resources team is doing around talent at Iowa and making sure that we think about how we develop staff from all kinds of backgrounds to take on leadership positions and really get involved at the University of Iowa. All of this leads to one announcement that I will say I've been very excited about, and that's because it's really innovative, and I think other campuses will look to us and think that this is something they too would like to do. Following our September forum, our athletics director, Gary Barta, approached me and said he was really inspired by one of the programs he heard discussed by a dean. And we began talking and sort of brainstorming about how athletics could contribute to really helping us compete for the most talented faculty of color and to help retain those wonderful faculty that are here. And although we're still working on the details, so this is a bit of a teaser, I am excited to announce that this initiative will roll out, led by the Provost Office, and I want to thank Sue Curry, as well as our Associate Provost for Faculty, Kevin Kriegel, who has been an amazing partner to work with. So this will be an initiative led by the Provost Office, the Chief Diversity Office, and Athletics. And I think this is pretty important because it tells us that our athletics department is not just invested in making sure that we are an institution where student athletes thrive, but that we're an institution where all students, faculty, and staff thrive. And I just want to pause and thank them for contributing to this very exciting initiative. The last priority is that we want to enhance clear communication and accountability. One of the things that we're doing, and you'll hear more about, and because time is running out, I'll just touch upon it, and that is we're developing Digest, and this is really building on what was already in place by my predecessor, but Digest that really capture the work that each college is doing. One part of it will be numbers that we, the Chief Diversity Office, fill in so that we can track how many women are in your college, how many underrepresented minority faculty, students, and staff. As we look at our strategic plan, these digests will follow the same timeline so that we see whether we are moving towards the progress that our strategic plan lays out for us. Most importantly, as these are developed, and they're being developed by the Associate Provost of Diversity in each college, they will give us an opportunity to really promote conversation across colleges. One of the exciting things that came out of our forum in September was hearing about how different colleges were responding to the challenges of trying to improve the diversity of their faculty, staff, and student bodies. We're all here in Iowa City, so we know that we face some of similar challenges in getting diverse folks to come. But if we can share our best practices and also nudge ourselves in each other by saying, you know, we're doing this, so why can't you? Then I think that we'll all be the richer. So we're doing that, and we're also, all of this will be moving toward the creation of that diversity, equity, and inclusion action plan. And this leads us to sharing what is now our institutional DEI message. That was another thing that emerged from our forum in the fall, and that was, why don't we have one message that we can all rally around, that we can all point to and say, yes, this is something we embrace. So excellence through diversity, that is what we are about at the University of Iowa. And we understand that the University of Iowa's status as a premier research university really depends on the robust exchange of ideas. The diversity of our students, our faculty, and staff helps us fulfill our mission to explore, discover, create, and engage. Thus, we are committed to supporting every Hawkeye's pursuit of excellence. As we enhance the breadth and depth of our perspectives, we purposely prepare for our future. Our ability to foster an equitable environment for all who join the UI family will determine our collective success. We eagerly accept this challenge. This final image of Catlett Hall makes me hope that we all recognize why we should accept this challenge. We really do stand on a rich history that we're not just standing still on, but that we're building on. I hope you agree to join our efforts as we make the UI a more welcoming and inclusive institution for all. We can't grow weary. We have to remember that we're following a path of trailblazers who came before us. To continue building, here are a few things that you can do. You can complete that faculty and staff survey. That you can do. You can participate in one of the stakeholder listening and strategy focus groups. You can enroll in courses about minority cultures. You can enroll in a build course or training. You can attend one of the amazing events that we have planned for this week. I was able to attend one last night with Rhyme Fest that was in this room, and I thought, I'm happy that most of the people that are here won't be here tomorrow when I'm up here not rhyming. But there are lots of other opportunities that you can participate in, and you can support, and this is important, don't forget this one, you can support diversity, equity, and inclusion work through your giving, and that is wonderful too. All of this, though, will make us a better institution, an institution where all of us can thrive, and I look forward to doing that work. Thank you. I'm happy to take a few questions if any of you have some or one. It was in the spring. Oh. It was in the spring. Is that what you mean? When was it in terms of, yeah. It took place in the spring.
Dr. Hill, do you mind repeating that question really quickly for the folks
yes.
in the back?
Jill asked, when did the 2016 SERU survey, when was it given? And it was given in the spring semester of 2016. Oh, there's...
Hi, so I'm part of a student organization on campus. I'm an undergraduate student. And one of the things we had in our meeting today that we discussed, we're going to be interviewing for students, was how to talk, or how to recognize our implicit bias. I know there's like an implicit bias training. So are there opportunities for small groups like ours on campus to have somebody come in or meet with a diversity office person or something like that? To learn about this type of stuff that we may not be exposed to in our everyday lives.
Thank you so much for that question. This student said that he is a part of a student group who wants to learn more about how you can receive training on implicit bias and other issues like that. So yes, we have lots of opportunities for that. Our diversity resources team will be the folks to contact, and Bria Marcello leads that team. And we're still really thinking through how builds and some of those courses are accessible to our undergraduate students, because right now they mostly focus on faculty and staff, and we're expanding to graduate students. But we definitely would love to have you reach out so that we can respond and make sure that your student group does have someone come to facilitate such a conversation.
Hi. In your goals, you mentioned the recruitment and retention of faculty, but I was thinking it would be great if you could add staff, a staff member. And as you can see, the numbers here are pretty low for the underrepresented groups. Also, you mentioned things you wanted to do with academic advising. What are some of the ideas you have in mind?
So 2 questions. One, what about the retention of diverse staff and what kind of work are we doing with advising? That is another really good question. I think much of the work that a wonderful subcommittee, it's a part of the Talent at Iowa, but Talent at Diversity Task Force has been thinking about that specifically. We will be rolling out a new platform that will allow us to, I think, capture and think about how to more effectively match some of our staff abilities with new openings and opportunities that will allow diverse staff to advance, because one reason people leave is when they don't feel they are in a space where they can professionally grow. So that's one of the things that we're really looking forward to. In terms of working with advising, we have a wonderful group of multicultural specialists in the Center for Diversity and Enrichment. And we've really been thinking about how, and they're really operating like academic coaches. And we've been thinking a lot, we being me and the director, Dr. Nadine Petty, about how we can really be effective in supporting those students. And one thing we realized is that because some of the staff in CDE have heretofore not had access to some of the information they need to really respond to student needs, that's been an inhibitor. So we've been meeting with central advising and look forward to meeting with advising in other colleges to think about how we can work together to be trained to have certain conversations so that those advisors, when they meet students who are CDE eligible or have the Advantage Iowa Scholarship, will be sure to send them to us. How we can make sure that if you are, say, an Advantage Iowa Scholar, that you receive advising for all 4 years from those CDE staff, because right now we just have mandatory advising at least within class for our first year, and we just began having mandatory advising for our second years. But research really shows that advising is really important when we think about retention and graduation. So we will not, our staff in CDE will not become advisors, but they'll become really wonderful partners with our advisors so that we can give these students more support. And not support so that, I don't want to suggest all of them are in danger of leaving, but all kinds of support, making sure that if you are a first-generation student and you're doing fantastic, or you're underrepresented student, but you don't know about the honors program, or you don't know about iCrew or study abroad, that you take advantage of those programs as well. We really want our students to thrive, and I feel like I say that a lot, but that is so important to me because I understand how much we as an institution have to offer our students and how these experiences can be life-changing. Yes, Nate.
So does your department work at all with Res Life and in looking at the Young Gifted and Black Living Learning Community or the All In Living Learning Community, and looking at ways that those halls can be better improved upon, to make sure that they're beneficial for the students that are living in it?
Yes. Thank you, Nate. So the question was, how does the Chief Diversity Office interact with residents' life, in particular, working with some of our living learning communities like our Young Gifted and Black and our All In? So as you saw from that map, we're really interactive. So we partner very closely with the ethnic studies units who are in direct conversation or are lead the course in common, say, for something like Young Gifted and Black. We definitely, between CDE and their partnership with Cecil and the work that Tabitha Wiggins does, work as well with those living learning communities. And the thing that I always want to stress is we're always open to figuring out how we can do other things that maybe we're not doing now. What's wonderful about the way that the University of Iowa Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, the different departments and units work is that we don't try to do it all in CDO, but we do want to make sure that we're connected in ways that students can be served effectively. So I think I will end here, and thank you again for coming out.